So welcome. Yes, I know traffic getting over here can be a challenge, but welcome to our world. I understand parking was full today, so some of us got some extra exercise that we may not have planned for right now, but thanks for being here. For those of you who haven't met, I'm Virginia Lazenby. I'm a downsizing coach and realtor and founder of the Seniors Living Smarter seminars. So I love our monthly seminars. They are just really neat. We've been doing them for 10 years. And the one in November seems always special to me because it's the last one of our seminar year. We don't do a seminar in December. And after spending over 20 years in the academic world, the end of the season reminds me of graduation. So today is a celebration in a variety of ways, and it's just so appropriate with our title for the seminar, The Power of Confident, Empowered, and Purposeful Living. And you're going to get hear a great story today about that. You know, graduation is a time of transition, a time of change, new opportunities. And so those of you who have been with us this year know that Vince Burgess has been with us since September. We've been working together to co-lead the seminars. He's been a fantastic partner. And he will take over the leadership of the seminars in January. To me, it is so important. When I was considering making this transition, it was so important to have someone who really cared about seniors. And I was just thrilled when Vince and I began these discussions, and so I'm thrilled that he's going to take the lead. I'll still be working with him. We'll be around. And so this was emotional enough. And then when I got really emotional, I want to call attention to Brielle Gard, who's with us today. A lot of you know Brielle. She's been with us for almost 4 years. And she moved on in April to an irresistible offer, and we certainly support her in that. I have to tell you a story. Just then when we were getting set up and I was fixing up our table, and I looked over at the door, and Vince was standing there with some woman, and I'm going, who is that person? And I'm doing my thing, and she's holding a small bouquet of flowers. I still couldn't figure out who it was. And then, so that got me. Some of you saw me when I saw who it was this morning. Yeah, and she was such a supporter for the 4 years. And I'm so glad now that Vince is taking the lead. We were just in Oklahoma City 2 weeks ago for a national meeting of people from around the country who do a lot of what we do in terms of, yes, real estate, but downsizing the whole comprehensive service. And many of them do the seminars like we do. I was so thrilled that Vince was there and his wife Dawn was there. She's going to be working with him, and he'll probably introduce her in a minute. But, you know, this is not a time of closure. It's a time of new opportunity. So I'm thrilled for Vince to take the leadership. And like I said, I'll still be around. So thank you for being here today. And Vince, you want to go ahead with our...
Thank you, Virginia. Can we just give it up for this wonderful musical group? You guys, you made my day. You made my day. So, and I'll go ahead and ask Keith and Virginia to come on up. Real quickly, let me introduce our educational partners. These are amazing people. So when you think about, your future plans and whatever part of the journey you're on, we've got some incredible people to be a part of your team. So we've got Ray with Care Patrol. We've got Susie, Heart to Heart Hospice over here. We've got Lori. She's our lender and reverse mortgage specialist. We've got Josie. We've got Sarah Elizabeth. And there's two names, yes, Sarah Elizabeth. Rainey and Rainey Scott with GTX Wealth. We've got Bailey with Watermere. We've got Dr. Ash with Comfort Care. And we've got Virginia with the Seniors Living Smarter, Downsizing Real Estate Services. So give it up for them. And we really do make a team to bring these free seminars to you on a monthly basis. So if you know of folks who could benefit from this, please invite them. We want to make sure that we get the word out. So, and thank you all for enduring the traffic. I had several of you say 195 was a parking lot and you had to turn around, and maybe you came to this full parking lot, but you endured and got here. So thank you. Yep. All righty. Well, let's get this show on the road. So I'm excited because Virginia's on the panel, and I get to ask the questions and she gets to answer. So again, a few housekeeping items. You should have gotten a packet with you today. In there, you've got an action steps form just to use for notes. If you have any questions, feel free to take some notes, and we'll have a time of Q&A at the end. We've also included an article that we thought might be helpful. Take a look at that. And just a big thank you for our educational partners that make this seminar possible. And last but not least, this very bright feedback form. So fill that out. We do read those, and that really does help us become better every day. So, all righty, are we ready? Well, I want to introduce Mr. Keith Steiner and Miss Virginia Lazenby here. So, Keith, introduce yourself and tell us just a little bit about you for the group today.
Sure. My name is Keith Steiner, and I still live in Georgetown. My wife, Anne-Marie, is towards the back of the room. We have lived in Texas since 1991, and after several years in North Texas, we came down to the Georgetown area to be closer to our families, and we spent several years in Sun City. Some of you may live there or be familiar with it, and most recently, earlier this year, we moved, which is what we're going to talk about.
Thank you, Keith. And so, Virginia, why this? Why this topic? Talk to us about that.
Well, I think, we hear so often when people are thinking about, my house is getting too much to manage, or, I'm tired of preparing meals, or I need to be in a different environment. But often we hear people who may even decide, okay, I can make this move. And then they go back to their house and they see a lot of stuff and they go, no, this is just too much. I can't manage this. I can't handle all this. And people from the communities will tell me, they call back to the community and say, no, we're not ready to move. Well, the reason they're not ready to move is it just looks completely overwhelming, which it can be. But there are services that can reduce the overwhelm, and we just want people to be aware. The article that Vince mentioned that's in your packet, that is the story. It was from a senior newsletter that some of you may have received it a couple years ago, but it kind of parallels what we're going to be talking about today. But Keith and Anne-Marie are kind of our case study. They're going to share their experience, and so that's why we're here.
Yeah, great, thank you. There's something to talk about things, but when you can hear it firsthand, it's a lot more powerful of a story, I think. So thank you for being here, Keith. So knowing if and when to move to a senior living community is a big decision. And how did you get there? What were the things that you considered, when you made that?
In terms of how we got there, now a few years ago, I went to a seminar that Virginia spoke at. So that's when I started to learn a lot more about what opportunities lie down the road as we got older and as things changed. So I always had that in the back of our mind. In our case, we realized for a few different reasons that the house was becoming a little too much for my wife due to some health-related issues. So we, having learned what Virginia had spoken about a few years ago, we started our investigation. Not with a planned move, not that we were definitely going to do it overnight, but we decided to start looking at what the options were. And in our case, option was going to active living, but instead of being in an active living community like a Sun City in a house, we could look at other options, such as what we ended up with, active living in an apartment with people in maybe 180 apartments in our community. So sort of a microcosm of Sun City. Same similarities, but on a smaller scale and a much easier scale.
So what were some of the emotions that kind of played into that decision?
You know, the emotions go both ways, right? So there's the emotion that we want to be positioned for the future. So I tell you, some of the emotion is that, you know, we're not going to live forever. We need to plan. And the downsizing, a benefit that we thought about up front was that if something happened to either one of us, that we were better positioned for the future. So if something happened to me, my wife could stay where we are now and not rush to move someplace else. We would have sold the house. We would have been in a far better place. We would have downsized, have less furniture, less items, and there's a big plus side to it. You know, there's other emotions. There's certainly the emotion of, well, this was our last house. You know, we had started an apartment, and now all these years later, 48 years later, we're back in an apartment. But that was, in a sense, good. It was like coming home and going back, to, in a sense, to where we started, although we didn't start in an active living community, and our apartment was much simpler back then.
And was there a specific turning point? Was there a moment that you and Anne-Marie can remember that was like, okay, yes, we've got to do this. This is the final straw, as it were?
Well, I could probably have my wife answer that one, but we were supposed to have family over to the house a couple of weeks before Easter. I guess this would have been, I'm looking at my wife, 2024. And we're supposed to have one family one weekend, another family 2 weekends later. And my wife worked really hard to prepare the house and get everything set. And in both cases, the family couldn't come due to illnesses with the grandchildren. So I think it was sort of like, you know, we have this house, and for years the family came, but it was becoming a little bit more challenging. So I think that was the start of it. I think another piece to this was we were at the stage, we had been in Sun City since 2008. I always say we arrived to Sun City younger than most. Many thought we were visiting our parents, and we left earlier than several people as well. But we were facing the thing, having been in the house since 2008, is a time to we always maintained it very well, but it was a time to redo the kitchen and change up other things. So that was also back there. Do we make this major investment? And if we do, how long will we be there? So I think it was the combination of the two that came together.
Thank you. So there are,
I want to
yeah, go
say, I
ahead.
think at one time you'd mentioned to me too about, in parallels with what you're saying, I hope it's okay, but you just had a birthday that was a celebration, so I guess it's okay to say, you know, turning 70, and that had been kind of a milestone. It sounded like that should be impetus for us to really make this change. You know, and I've heard other people, I know a woman, her mark was 80. She'd been through the downsizing with her parents, and she said they waited too long. She was not going to let that happen. In her world, 80. And for you all, you kind of set that. All of these factors contribute to it. But let me assure you that they are very active and still traveling and doing all kinds of great things. So.
Yes.
Yeah. So there are a lot of wonderful, you know, communities here in the area, 55 and older. And the last couple of weeks, we had several folks go on some community tours with us. We went to Watermere in Round Rock. We went to the Oscar here in Georgetown, and we went to Truewood, Merrill here in Georgetown. And if you attended any of those, would you raise your hand? Anybody in the groups? We have a few people. Yeah. And so you definitely have options. And for you, Keith and Anne-Marie, you're at Amberlin in Georgetown. And what were some of the key factors that really led you to Amberlin?
Sure. So in terms of factors, again, I'll come back to Virginia, I took all these notes a few years ago about things that you should consider. I also have a good friend who has been looking at all these places probably for the past 3 years, and has probably gone to every place you can imagine in this area, probably 30 or 40 different places. So between the two, I learned a lot of things that we should consider. Uh, in our case, we wanted to still, if we could, be in Georgetown, um, because we wanted to be able to visit our friends that all these friends that we've had over the years. But we also wanted to be in familiar territory in terms of medical, our doctors and other medical-related facilities, dentists, et cetera. So that was a plus. We actually picked the place where if you go outside the apartment, it's Georgetown. If you make a left in 1 foot, you're in Round Rock. So some of the benefits were we're right down the street from Baylor Scott and White, the medical center, which we use often, more so than we like to say. And we have our ophthalmologist is down the street. Other factors were, we have a grocery store that I can walk to or drive to. I do both. We have the outlet mall. So we have a lot of things nearby, which I thought was really important. I think one of my friends was telling me, it made me really think about this. Being right near a hospital has a lot of benefits, if you needed some emergency treatment quickly. So those were all factors, things that we could walk to, but also be near I-35 so we can get on the highway. And like I said, near the heart of Georgetown as well.
Now, are you a spreadsheet kind of guy?
What do you think, Virginia?
So
The ultimate planner.
No, so how did you compare communities? Did you have a spreadsheet? Did you just kind of visit several of them?
We looked at different communities. The nice thing these days is that you have the internet, which is a big benefit in terms of finding communities easily, looking at floor plans, looking at them, and then you can also visit them. So we ruled in and ruled out, different locations. For example, there was another one we saw that was in another part of Georgetown, but we wouldn't have been able to walk to the HEB, or if I had to walk to the medical center, I could easily do that. So, I could walk to the outlet mall. So one of them was a little too far away. And then a couple of others just didn't meet our needs, at least at this time. But it's important to look at, have different options. We had actually gone to a vendor fair, and we met the folks from Amberlin there. My wife got a brochure and put it away. I don't even know if she took it out for months, but one day she started to take a look at it. So that was all these little things are always helpful reminders, like even though you might not think you're ready for something, getting brochures, having them available, I think is really good. So eventually we could narrow this down, and then of course we visited it, and then we fell in love with it right away.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So besides the location, what made Amberlin feel like that could be your next home?
It met a lot of our needs. So in terms of the complex itself, it's sort of like a mini Sun City. And I point to Sun City because we were there many years, and as Virginia said, we are active. So it was sort of a mini Sun City. The only thing is, instead of getting in the car and driving not very far, 10, 15 minutes to the social center or to here to there, you basically walked out to your apartment, either into the courtway or through the corridor, and you were right to the social event in 2 or 3 minutes. Or I started, I like sports, and for years heard about this thing called pickleball, and with my wife's encouragement, have started doing that. In fact, I'm now the organizer of it. But it's right there. I can look, walk, open the door, see if people are there, and I'm there in 30 seconds. So, there's an exercise room. There's all these things, right there. So that was good when they took us on the tour. That was, and we also found an apartment layout that really worked for us.
And I think one of the final catalysts to go ahead with the move was the apartment. that it just fit you all so well. And literally, it's right in the corner, so easy access to parking. Walk out your back door, patio door, and you're it's pickleball court.
Yes.
And I remember you talked about that, and it seemed like it's like, wait, this apartment is for us. That's the sign, or let's do it. And then you did have an interesting process of acquiring the apartment, but not moving for a while. But we'll have that story. To come up.
So, what would you say to this? So, we had a downsizing workshop recently, and one of the husbands said, "I don't want to move into a home." And so, there's a stereotype of, that's where you go out to pasture. Like, what would you say to people who say, no, there's some vibrant communities out there, to move into? What would you say to that?
Well, there definitely are, and I think of home differently. So it's interesting. So when we lived in our last place in Sun City, and I was leaving, let's say, the grocery store or someplace, I would text Amory, say, coming home. So now I'm at the HEB in a different location, so I'm going to hit home differently. So now it's the apartment when we're in there. So is the apartment, what is it? Do you say, I'm coming to the apartment? So I'm coming home. So I think of home, it is our home. We don't own it, but it is our home. It's what you make of it. So I don't think of it as a home like where old people are, because it's not. Where we are has a wide range of age groups. I would assume from 50s to 90, but so I don't think of it as a home. And I don't think of any of these places as homes the way we might have thought about that years ago. The world's changed, so to me they're not like a home.
Great, thank you.
They're like a home, your own home.
Yeah, good. So for many, the idea of downsizing can seem daunting and overwhelming. When you began the process of planning to downsize, what were your biggest concerns or hesitations?
Well, when we thought about the concept of, first of all, just leaving a house and moving to like an apartment, there's the concern about noise, there's the concern about the size of it. What do we do with all our stuff? And sometimes you think of it as stuff, more things than we really needed at that point. Those were some of the things, the noise of being in a complex versus, home, but we shouldn't fool ourselves. You're in a home, you can hear things outside all the time. So that really turned out not to be a big deal. But I think it's all the things. I think the biggest things that run through your mind are, wow, we got all this stuff, we got to figure it out. What are we going to keep? What are we not going to keep? What will the kids take? How will it work? How will the move go? Are we going to like it? All these things run through your mind, but you have to plan and just be organized.
So did you know where to start, or did you need guidance in that process?
Well, we definitely needed guidance, so we found our downsizing coach, which was the best decision we could have made, for sure. So we look at Virginia not as, she sells real estate, so she's a real estate agent, as she said, but I really viewed her along the way, the entire time, as the downsizing coach. We've done various moves over the years, some corporate moves, moving from the East Coast to the West Coast and the West Coast to Texas. We've also moved on our own, and even corporate moves where they really help you in a lot of ways. Our move, because of Virginia and what she brought to the table, we were talking about it a couple of weeks ago, I think of it as one-stop shopping, that with Virginia, it was one-stop shopping to make it all come together. And it was the simplest move we've ever made. Now, I'll tie into something Virginia said. We did take the apartment earlier. So when we found the apartment, Amberlin, I think, is a couple of years young or old, whatever you want to say. The wing we're in is the newest of their 6 buildings. And so when we found this apartment, nobody had lived in there before. And we said, well, let's just grab it. We like the layout. There's less of that size compared to the others that they offer, so let's just grab it. and we'll take it. And we took it in July of 2024. And then we said, well, maybe we'll take a year till we move. Maybe, we'll just transition, go there on the weekends. And then we started to reach out to Virginia early on. And then I think we sat down maybe in the fall, maybe prior to that. Maybe it was prior to that. But we started to talk this through. And then I think I said to my wife, Anne-Marie, why don't we go sooner? Let's go in January. It was after we were coming back from a trip. And, it's overwhelming. I was probably a little overwhelmed. I know she was definitely overwhelmed, very understandable. But I said, look at all these things, all the help that we're going to get, from the estate liquidator to help us with that. And very importantly, the move manager. And Virginia has an interesting concept of what you do to get the home ready. So this was new to us, but having the move manager and having all these things at our fingertips because of Virginia really, really helped us. We couldn't have done it. We could have done it. We would have done it, but it really made the transition seamless.
So how did you handle the emotional part of getting rid of maybe collections or long-time possessions?
It's not easy. Okay, I have to be honest with you. There are moments that you get very emotional about it, but then there are times you toughen up a little bit. But, we found the balance. So we were one of those, like our kids wouldn't have this issue today. Kids don't have photo albums, right, because it's all digital. But we still had a zillion photo albums. So that was an emotional thing. We gave some to the kids. I had scanned some, but I didn't scan them all. We could have, but we didn't. So that was a little emotional, deciding what you keep and what you wouldn't keep. But what I would tell you is enjoy what you did keep. So there's enough photo albums, and we have enough digitized too, that we can be happy with what we kept. Same thing is, we tried to, whatever the kids wanted, we wanted to give to them because that way we would see it. So when you think of emotion, if your china's with them or your silver, this, that, eventually it's still in the family. So you can get over a little emotion there. And then we just sort of prioritize, we'd like to keep these things. And that's where the move manager really helped us, because a big challenge of ours was we had 2 tables. One of them we were going to bring with us and one we were going to not bring with us. And there was one that we've had almost since the moment we were married. A few months after we got married, it was handmade in Virginia. We really wanted to bring it with us. I think if it was the decision on our own, we would have sold it because we didn't think it would fit. And they really, because of their expertise, said, bring it. It's going to work. And it did. So things are emotional, but, we focused on the things that we're going to take with us. We put it up early, but we just put up our Christmas tree. And it's a smaller tree, but the ornaments that we wanted to have with us, they all fit. I think Anne-Marie was amazed about that. I certainly was. And they look better than ever. It's a little smaller, but smaller can be better too. So, you just have to work through the emotion.
I just want to add a little bit about the move manager part, and they are so critical in helping guide the decision to downsize, and especially in terms of, like he said, what will fit, how will it fit. So let me go back just quickly to the bigger picture. Keith mentioned about one-stop shop, and that's what our team offers. And the reason, I just want people to be aware, you can, because we tie it all together. I'll just stop there. But as part of our team, we have a move management group we work with. And what the move manager does is to really, so you've got to do your own sorting, but they guide that. They pack, they arrange for the mover, they move you, and they set up your apartment. In a minute, Keith, I want you to go back and even talk about that. But as he, talked about that move manager, and they play a critical role, and the way we all work together is as a downsizing coach and coordinator. We have a diagram that we often share with people where Vince and I can be the hub, and here are the resources that we bring in. and the move manager is a critical one. And then the liquidation. I'll just go ahead because you mentioned like the collections and all. You know, when we think about making the move, you move from what, 2,400 square feet to 1,000 or 12 or,
Yeah, maybe closer to 2,800 down to
okay.
1,250.
So obviously not everything is going. And so the move managers help you get there, but there's still stuff at the house. And so then on our team, we have our liquidation specialist who helps identify what will be the best way to liquidate, to get rid of the stuff. I'll just say I feel strongly we've oversold the idea of estate sales when everybody thinks, oh, I can have an estate sale, get rid of everything and make a lot of money. Maybe, maybe not. Depends on what you have. Now, they were fortunate. You did. It worked very well. And so that's the next step then when we host the estate sale and they finish cleaning out. And one thing that I know I've heard people say, oh, but what about my special things? Perhaps my sterling flatware, if I have fine art, if I have expensive jewelry, special collections, including baseball cards. The liquidation team is outstanding at knowing the best way. They're not going to put your sterling flatware out at an estate sale. There are better avenues for that. Now, put the baseball collection out.
Let's put a pin in that because you're getting ahead of me now. So let's pause that just a second. Let's go back to the downsizing journey. Kind of how did that process go for you? Planning, sorting, to kind of get to your new home. What was sort of that like?
Sure. Well, can we go back to the move manager?
Yes.
So the move manager really, really helped us. So basically, the owners came out to our house to look at what we had, and we went room by room, and they took photographs, and we talked about, we'd like to take this, we'd like to take this, we don't think we can take this, we don't want to take this. So we went through all of that. They took notes. Then they met us at the apartment, and we walked all of that, and we talked about at a high level where things could go. And then it was a very iterative process. So they did the layout, sent it to us, and I think we went back and forth 5, 6 times, maybe more, to figure out where things could go. They encouraged us to take a few pieces that we wouldn't have taken, which really worked out well. So we got all that all laid out, and basically, between what Virginia had given us with stickers and all helpful things and what they had told us, we basically went cabinet by cabinet in the house. And, this cabinet are things we're moving, this cabinet are things we're not moving. So you just go place to place. Or we created closets. These closets are stuff that we're going to sell. These are closets are the items we're going to take. And, we tried to lay out things to make it as easy as possible. So we did all that. And then basically, the day before the movers came, we had three ladies came to the house. It's amazing what they did. And I think it was like in 5 hours. It was shorter than I think, 5 or 6 hours. They had boxed up everything. So everything that we're taking, labeled them all. This for the kitchen, this for here, this for there. And they wrapped some of the some items and some larger artwork, some of the larger pieces, the movers would wrap the next day. But basically, so they got all that done. And then they said, we'll be back at your house the next morning before the movers would come. And instead of 3 ladies, there were 4. And 3 of the ladies took a bunch of boxes with them, basically everything that would be for the kitchen. I think there was primarily that and a few other items to get a head start. So they would get there a few hours before the movers would eventually get to the apartment. Then the movers came, and I think they got it all done in 4 hours in terms of the truck loaded. And one of the ladies had stayed back, and then she went to the apartment, so we had 4 helping hands over there. And their goal was to get everything put away. They had asked, would you like us to hang all your artwork, all your stuff? And we said, sure. In fact, we asked them to do a couple other things. So one was almost plumbing work, but they could do it. So anyway, but what they ask is, so it's moving day, right? Before they left, they just said, this is about the time frame. You'll probably be able to enter your apartment at about 6:30, but wait for us. Don't come until we tell you. So basically, of course, we weren't going to wait, but we did to a degree. We went out there and we attended a social event. We didn't go to the apartment, and an hour earlier than expected, they texted us to say it's ready, and we basically went to the apartment. They opened up the door, and it was as if we had been living there for a year. So everything was put away, everything. Sheets on the bed, boxes, no boxes in the apartment, so they were all emptied, everything put away, artwork, stuff hung. And, over the next couple of days, all we had to do was just fine tune a few things, a few clothes that we were going to put in this closet we moved, but that was a few hours each day for maybe 3 days versus, even when I moved with our company, and it was, you still had to unbox, you still had to put away stuff, and it was several weeks of dealing with that. So it was very, very easy, is the bottom line. It was the easiest thing we could have imagined.
Maybe we could throw in a home-cooked meal, like they could, have food ready for you.
Right, they leave you
Yeah.
items, which is very nice as well. But it was just so nice that, we had moved a few things in advance. We've got storage units there. So if you want to keep some stuff or you need room for luggage or this or that. So we moved a few things out in advance, but very little compared to what they did.
So Virginia, tell us real quickly, what is that process like on the front end? So when move managers meet with key clients, what does that look like, that appointment?
To me, it's a really magical time. I mean, I say this, I've been with them on many of their appointments, is we encourage people to plan ahead and be thinking about what it is and all. But when the move management team comes, as Keith mentioned, when the owners come, they're there just for about an hour, but they're very kind. They're very, get this done, because they know our people know what's going on. And so they're there to look. Keith referenced the stickers. We give people green stickers for things that are going with you. Not a sticker on every plate, please. But like, as he mentioned, on the cabinets. This cabinet is green, it's going. This cabinet's red, don't touch, liquidation will. And so when they come in to look, we've often had our people already have things stickered. So the move managers know to look for green stickers, and they start immediately planning. And they're two women, and they at the end of an hour, it blows me away, they will say, okay, it's going to take 3 women, 5 hours, and so many small boxes, large boxes, wardrobe, and my head is spinning. They are excellent. And they nail it. And the thing I will say, I was worried before I started working with him. I'd kind of heard about this, but I was afraid it was kind of mechanistic and just run over people. It's not at all. Not the plan, the initial meeting, or when the teams work with you. Everybody, it's a great process. It's just they are so experienced, and that, especially that one piece of furniture, there was ongoing discussion about whether or not it could go. It went. It was perfect, but it just saves a lot. Now, I will say, and Vince has been with me on these, when we've had some people who are so completely overwhelmed and circumstances making it very hard for them to make decisions. So now we have another component that sometimes we help people with the sorting process, helping them think through this. So we really want to try to make this as easy as possible.
Yeah, thank you. So you've moved to your new home, and obviously there's probably some things left at your other home. How was the liquidation piece handled?
Very well. So they know from experience. I think the liquidator told us that once you move out, take 1 week. So we won't come in for 1 week, so that you can just think through: is there anything we left that we should have brought with us? Do we bring anything to the place that should go back to the house? So let's see, we moved, I think it was a Friday, Thursday or Friday. But I remember that Saturday, I think something like that, that Saturday we went back to the house. We realized, I think we took 3 or 4 items that we had brought to the apartment that we realized we really don't need. We took that to the house. And then I think we took about the same amount. It was just coincidental, 3 or 4 items from the house over to the apartment. And then I called him on Monday to said it's yours. But we could have, you know, it was all geared to, you know, 1 week just in case you need more time. And I have friends who've gone through this and they needed that 1 week. They probably needed 2 weeks, but it varies, you know, by person. And then from there, they come in and they make it look like a store, I guess. You know, they organize everything and they label everything, and your garage now becomes a place where they might take certain items to showcase there, and they just organize everything for a sale. I had never been to an estate sale, but I had seen them in our neighborhood, and I know they draw a lot of people, and so I was familiar with that part of it. But they organize everything, and then they have the estate sale over 2 days, and it's not the whole day. I think it's like 6 hours a day or some incredible thing. I mean, I heard from friends who said there were like 80 cars on the street or 100 cars. You know, these things are very popular. And basically, they tell you up front, you know, what we sell, here's how it works, and what you get is dependent on the volume of what they sell, the revenue they take in. And then if there's a bunch of stuff they don't sell, they'll take care of it. They'll bring it to a charity on the most part. There could be some stuff that they'll just get rid of that maybe is not saleable and not appropriate for a charity, but then the other stuff for charity. And, you know, they said, if we do this, this is the possible cost for lugging the stuff afterwards.
Now, I understand you had some special collections, some sentimental items. How did the liquidation specialist handle these unique items?
We talked to them up front. I mean, I had baseball card collections back when people would really enjoy baseball cards. But you weren't buying them because you thought they would become worth something. It was just back in the day. Maybe today, I think they buy them just so that they can make money 20 years from now. So I had a pretty extensive baseball card collection, and I looked at trying to deal with this myself, but, you know, it really takes an incredible amount of time. I just didn't want to do that. And then we had some other items. I think it was our silver. I'm looking back to my wife. And maybe some jewelry. So instead of selling it at the estate sale, which you really don't want to do for a whole variety of reasons, you probably won't reap the cost. There's issues of maybe somebody walking out with them, you know, et cetera, et cetera. They do have people there, but, you know, just like a store, you can't watch every person all the time. So he basically took those items and before the estate sale started to sell them. I think before the estate sale, he had sold the silver and the jewelry. The baseball cards, he sold some, and then he asked me, he said, are you okay if I take a few more weeks beyond the estate sale? Because I'd like to maximize what we sell this for. And I think he brought them to, he was looking at dealers in North Texas and even in Oklahoma. So he sold the rest of the collection a few weeks after the actual estate sale.
Good, thank you. So Virginia, what other types of items might the liquidation specialist sort of find special outlets for?
Well, expensive items, and especially firearms. If people do have firearms, I know I've had people thinking, oh, I've got to figure out what to do with it. Our liquidation team will take care of them in appropriate ways. And, you know, it's all documented. And so, you know, a lot of these things that, as Keith said, he'd maybe considered or tried selling the baseball card collection, and it really ends up, yes, more involved and taking more time and lots of complications. And that's why we like to help people know by planning ahead how these things will be taken care of, and you don't have to do it. So I've been very pleased, and yes, lots of cars. They do it, well, the group we use, they do it in a pretty short day, but they have such a following of people. People know, and they're very good about highlighting things, taking pictures of all the items that are on sale. If there's not enough for an estate sale, there's some other options of selling things online, or they do offer some, we may do a shorter estate sale. There have been some situations where we've had a one-day sale. So we try to remember, but the bottom line is it's about liquidation. It's about getting rid of the stuff. And if we make money in it, great. But, the goal is to get rid of the stuff.
Thank you. So, of course, after the move, there were steps to take, right? There's prepping the property, your home and minor repairs, staging, but in terms of your personal experience, what was overall sort of the most challenging for you and Anne Marie?
Let's see. That's a tough one. I'd say, again, it would probably come back to the emotions. I mean, you go through different emotions. I'm not going to kid you. I think we lost this. Hello? Okay. Hello? Okay. Probably I'm talking too much, but it's like anything. When we first moved to Sun City, it's like, are we making the right decision? The day we moved in that night, and the next morning we realized we had. Same thing with this, we're back and forth talking to each other. Are we doing the right thing? Are we sure we want to do this? Should we do it now? Should we wait? And we realized we shouldn't wait for the reasons I said earlier, but you go through that emotion. Are we going to talk about getting the house ready put it on the market?
Go for it.
So another piece, which I'm not used to, so when we talk about one-stop shopping, was getting the house ready to put it on the market. And we met with Virginia and the person that she has that helps get the repairs done to the house. And we discussed items that I point to things. Well, I think this, what do you think? Should this be repaired? There weren't major things, but should we do this? Should we do that? Talked about getting the carpets cleaned or this fixed or that things. We tried to keep our home in very good shape, but we still had a list of, various items that needed to be taken care of. So after the estate sale's over, I think he has like a week to clean up everything, right? So he, gets, whatever's left and sweeps up and that kind of thing. And then Virginia's person, they come in. They already had planned. They knew what work to do and who was going to do that. And they do it, honestly, at the lowest cost possible. So where they could fix it themselves, or we even had this unique thing, and I'm like, that refrigerator spring, she found it on Amazon, and then her husband installed it. So if we called a company, it would be a lot more money. So they took care of all those items, and we had never had that before. If we had to do it on our own, some of them, I'm not sure, it would have been too complex, and we would have paid a lot more than we did. And then taking it further, when the house did sell and the inspection came, we just had a couple of items, and I think a lot of that is because of the work that had been done up front. Honestly, we had 2 windows, which you could not have told, that were, whatever the word is, glazed, whatever. Yeah, thermosealed. And we couldn't have caught that because we had shutters, and it would have been very hard to notice that. And then we had one drip. It was our, the washing machine, the hose connects to the faucet. And if you would shut the faucet off, we didn't know it because you had a hose. There was the smallest drip. And so we wouldn't have known, but obviously when everything's removed, the inspector comes in. That would be an easy one to notice, so that had to be fixed. But again, she coordinated getting the stuff done, getting it done in the most cost-effective manner, and getting it done quickly. And so we didn't have to worry about that. In this day and age, sometimes it's a little bit better now than after COVID, but sometimes you're trying to get somebody in to fix something, and you wait a long time, and you don't have a long time to wait when you're selling your house. So it was just comforting. I didn't have to worry about it. I knew from day one we wouldn't have to worry about it. So that made life good, stress-free.
That's good. So was there a moment that you felt the relief of being on the other side of the move? Did you just take a big sigh one day, you and Emery on the couch, and be like, we did it?
Yeah, I'd say two relieves. I mean, one is after we made the move, and we were in the apartment, you know, particularly a couple of days later, I felt really good, and I think we both did with each passing day. And even today, I would tell you, with each passing, now it's months. You know, we moved in January. I feel good about it. We both had concerns at first about moving, the things that you all would be thinking about. But then, you know, each time I'll say to myself, or I'll say to Emery, it's good that we moved, you know, that kind of thing. And then the other piece is when the home is closed and you get your money. Okay, trust me, you know, I don't have to worry now about hailstorms. You know, I've never really filed insurance claims. I think we filed one claim in North Texas. I think it was just one claim when our son kicked a ball and it hit somebody's windshield on our street. We never filed claims, but since we've been in the Austin area, we've replaced 2 roofs. So I think we replaced a roof in 2013 and maybe one in 2021. Lucky us. But I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff anymore. So I think the biggest relief, the second biggest relief was, but it was the number one relief was when we closed at the title company and the money was in our account.
So obviously, you and your wife were thoughtful and planned well for your transition to where you're at now, but that's not always the case. So Virginia, let's talk about the opposite scenario, right? So there's a medical crisis, hospitalization, someone's coming out and has to go into rehab, and there's not a plan in place. You're kind of dealing with that now. Tell us about that.
Yeah, you know, it is obviously the ultimate planner. I've got to tell you, Keith had sent me an email, I think in June, to tell me this plan that they had leased this apartment starting in July. They would be moving in January and da-da-da-da, but we will be gone these months and those months. And I'm reading, Bria was with me, I'm reading that email going, oh my goodness, this guy is precise in planning. But we worked well together. We had a plan laid out. But there's also the time for those of us who don't plan ahead. You know, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. And as Vince mentioned, you know, I'm dealing with a situation right now, and it's very sad. But I say this, I share this as a heads up to people. In this case, a woman was living in Sun City. We'll call her Elizabeth. Had a beautiful furniture and collection. She had lived on the East Coast for many years. A tremendous collection of Madame Alexander and other collectible dolls, and an endless number of Collins of Texas bags. Anyway, lots of collections. She wanted to always share them with people, but she had not done that. She faced a medical challenge in December of 23, ended up in the hospital, then in rehab, and then discharged to assisted living. She has friends, fortunately, who have really helped her a lot. The challenge has become she's in a wheelchair, and it's very, very difficult for her to transfer, so it's very limited mobility. Her dream would be to come back to her house for a period of time to go through everything. The reality is that's not happening. Her friends have been very gracious. I've been up there with them a couple of times. They've brought her up to try to go through things. But, you know, if we do that earlier rather than later, and it gets harder and harder to go up there, and in this case, we can't sell the house until the house is emptied, or that would be the best plan. We can't get the house empty because she's not ready to let go. And it really becomes an impasse. And and then it's like, okay, I'm going to just keep saying it. I'm not moving right now, but those collections we have, start sharing them with people now. Start that thinning out process. That way you get to enjoy the memory and enjoy your friends or family enjoying it. And so it's just been such an eye-opening. She's concerned about how long her money will last as she's in assisted living, and it's been there now for a year and a half. But she's out $1,000 a month on her house that is sitting there vacant because it's not ready to be sold. Plan ahead, and that's the moral of that story.
And that really does put things in perspective, to the value of having a plan, planning early and being, thoughtful about, we talk about seniors living smarter. It's like seniors planning smarter too. Yeah.
Especially the items, the collections, the special things. It's a great time to share your legacy. And I know Brielle is with us today. Her family's done an outstanding job of passing things on to family members. And we have lots of stories of people who do that. But myself included, I need to do a better job of that rather than I'll get to it someday. How can we do a little bit along the way? It's just, in this case, very sad. So we support people in sharing your legacy along the way and planning.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we're going to land the plane here and just a couple more questions for Keith. So how's life changed for you after the move? What's the day-to-day like, and what do you enjoy most about life now?
It's been great. We just, Amory organized a party for me, and it had people from where we used to live, and it had people from where we live. And, we used the lounge that we have at Amberlin. So it was a great party. Our challenge was that we probably could have invited double the amount of people we did. Because we've made a lot of friends where we now are, and we've only been there since January. And of that time we were there, we traveled for 2 months, so we haven't been there that all long. And we have our friends back in Sun City. So that's very rewarding that we've met people quickly. And it reminded us that when we first got to wherever you live, if you first move to a place that's fairly new, people are very warm, you meet people very easily. Once you've been there for years, some places can be more challenging than others. These kind of places, they have turnover. There's no kidding around that because people might evolve. They might go from there to the next step to the next step. But it was easy to meet people, and people are in similar situations in a positive way. So that part's been really good. When we've gone to different events, we probably go to more social events now than we did before because they're easy to go to. You just walk 5 minutes and you're in the lounge or something. And if you don't want to stay very long, you don't have to. If you want to stay long, but you don't have to worry about driving home or this or that. And, again, for me, I started with this pickleball thing, but there's exercise things. There's yoga, there's aqua, whatever they do in the pool. So it's just been easy to do all these things. And so I find that we both find that very rewarding.
So you've been through the whole process, right? You started the planning, you made the move, sold your house. In this next chapter, what words of advice would you give to folks, and especially maybe folks who are hesitant or feeling overwhelmed? Like what would you say?
I'm big on planning. I like planning, but I also like implementing. So I like planning how are we going to capture that hill and then actually doing it. So I enjoy both. But I've learned over the years, you can't just implement without a plan because it's not going to be very successful. But you can't have a plan that's like pie in the sky where you develop this plan years and years and years, and by the time you're ready to turn it on, say go, it's outdated or you're outdated. So I guess my big thing is, what I've learned over the years is, one, investigate, sounds like with the hands went up about you visiting some of the places. So I think a lot of you are off to the right start. It's never too early or too late. it's never too early to plan. So I would investigate, have your game plan, know where you might want to be 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, whatever. Maybe start narrowing the sites down, look at what new places are being built as well. So I would do that and have a game plan. My other piece of advice, something that Virginia talked about a few years ago, and then I saw it on my street. Don't wait till it's too late. So I remember Virginia talked about, so I took all these notes and I still have them. So she talked about, like, don't wait till you're incapable of making the decisions, and where either your children have to do it, or if you don't have children, that some relative has to do it. Do it while you can do it. So I would highlight that. And the other thing is, do it while you can enjoy it. You know, these things are all good. I mean, we happen to be in an active living environment, but we have friends who are in the independent living, and they love it. And they got in there at the right time where they can really enjoy it. So I guess my other piece of advice is, don't wait to the time that you can enjoy it. Don't wait until the time that you can't make the decision, and just plan for it. And if you plan for it, it's going to go really well. It really will. You go on vacation. If you wait till the morning of the vacation, which I know some people probably do, to pack, it's a lot better if you do it sooner rather than later. It'll make the start of the vacation go that much better. So plan.
Great. Thank you so much, Keith. Now, Virginia, any kind of closing words, final thoughts?
And the whole idea of planning, surrounding yourself with professionals. I know we say, oh, I can do it myself. I've moved 15 times before, and you may have, and some of those may have been with assistance from relocation or corporate moves. And you know what? If you moved 5, 10 years ago, for most of us, our backs might have been stronger, more limber, our knees. You know, those boxes get heavier. Let somebody do that. You're still in control, but having a team who can walk with you and, you know, support you along the way, that's the important part.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Keith. Now, any questions for Keith? Now, he'll also be up here, you know, after. He'll take some questions from you, but we've got Josie over here. If you have questions, raise your hand, and I can help as well. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just a minute. John's got the mic. She'll bring you a mic.
These planning teams, roughly speaking, to go through the type of planning and execution that you people have been talking about this morning, what type of costs are we talking about from A to Z?
The cost? I think the best way to answer that is, I guess in terms of coordination, which is really important in our business model, we coordinate all of those as part of our real estate compensation. Now, when you meet with the move manager, they will give you what their quote will be. And, you know, it depends on how much stuff. So it's all different. But you know what? It's so much, usually so much less than what people think. Oh, I can't use them. They're going to be so expensive. We've had, you know, move manager to move, maybe anywhere from $3,000 or $4,000 to $8,000 if you're taking a bunch of stuff and moving further away. You know, you have to get the information, and you have to, it's an investment. Keith mentioned preparing his home to sell. He had already told me from the beginning there was a concern about the tape in that bonus room, and so we worked on that. You know, but it costs. But in terms of support, move managers are worth every penny and more, if you have a good one. Ours are good. Anything you
Yeah,
want
I
to
think just it's an individual situation. Again, it depends on if you have a lot of deferred maintenance on your home. So again, and I'm to hear your question, it's A to Z, right? So every aspect. So it depends on deferred maintenance. Keith and his wife kept up their home. We do see several homes that folks move out of, and we see the leak that happened, but it was behind something and you didn't see it at the time. You notice the failed thermoseals. You notice all these things when your house is empty that you may not notice. So that adds cost in some situations. But I will say the common theme that we've heard from our clients who have used Move Managers, it is worth the weight in gold to open the door and everything is done. Your bed's made, the box is gone. Like, that sounds dreamy to me, you know. And anything you want to add to that, Keith?
Yeah, that's true. It makes it a lot easier. You know, as Virginia said, the prices will vary depending on how organized you are. The more organized you are, that probably will reduce some of the costs. But on the same token, if it's done really well, and you're out of the house and it's all prepared. I mean, we sold our house, I think, in 2 days, right? 3 days, 2 days, very quickly.
It's very nice.
So you can also look at it that if it sits on the market for months and you're paying the insurance and you're paying all this, so the more organized you are, could allow for a faster transition.
And following up on that, some people say, well, I want to sell my house as is. I don't want to do anything to it to sell it. That is an option. As someone's professional realtor, I strongly recommend reconsidering that. You have to remember, okay, oh, that's right, there's a seminar next year. Okay, but I just a tidbit about it. But, you know, we want to put your house in the best light possible. In this market, it's very competitive. Other markets, you could just kind of put your house up there, and if there's a house, they'll buy it. Not now. People are wanting houses in good condition. And I'm chuckling because we have our stager here today, too, that it varies depending on the size of the home and the needs. I know I take in decorative items, kitchen, bathrooms, floor plants, and so on. In larger homes, such as Keith's, we did have a stager who happens to be with us today, brought in furniture. We don't want the focus to be on the furnishings, but we want the furnishings to highlight the house. So I'm just saying that they're all considerations. The way, you know, we've had a house now, we've been working with people, we recommend these repairs. The family then makes the decision. It affects the price that you will list the house, and will affect what you will get from the house. Oh, let's see. Yeah, right here.
Like Keith, I'm a planner, and I've already started some downsizing, and that's a two-person issue, and so anything in the garage is downsizable at this point, but things inside the house aren't downsizable. So when I win a battle, I wish to move forward. So one thing that I believe that many of us here have a problem with is the china, the flatware, the crystal. The children don't want it, the grandchildren don't want it, and the great-grandchildren don't want it. And if I've won the battle, now I've got to figure out, can I get rid of it now? Because that'll start the process for other things. Does your group that you have deal with just doing that right now?
Truthfully, generally not, but you know, there can be exceptions to everything. I do know there's often, we all say, oh, no one wants my china, my crystal. True. However, there are outlets. Now, your stuff sold in the estate sale. I mean, you had fine, your sterling, that was sold outside, but you had china and crystal, and that was sold in the estate sale. I know there's two schools of thought. I want to get rid of it now, so I'm making progress. I understand that. There's also the school of thought that we need the amount of stuff to bring people into a sale. It's a personal matter. Yeah, you know, when our estate liquidator is here, she's going to say, don't get rid of anything. We can potentially sell it. Yes, but some of us need space to walk through. We can't have all the boxes, and it's a personal matter. You know, I think my main concern about that is if someone's going to enjoy it. And when people say, oh, nobody wants my things, do the people do they even know the story of your things? Do they know why that gold vase is important? I mean, I've heard people, Brielle's family again is great at sharing the stories. If we know why that's important, it means more to us, you know. Hope that-
Okay. Oh, are you ready for me? Okay. Somebody mentioned firearms. Are firearms permitted in these retirement facilities?
Most of them, no. That's the reason we get rid of them. And we have someone who will do, our estate liquidator takes care of those.
Good. I don't want some crazy old man, going on a tangent with his guns, right?
Good point. You know, I think they're not allowed, and we'll help you get rid of them. Okay, over here.
The couple that just left, they just wanted to mention, the gentleman with the question about the china, consider donating it to the Caring Place.
Oh, sure. Okay. You know, we've got great places to donate, Caring Place Assistance League, and so on. And I want to mention what Keith mentioned about after the estate sale. They do try to make the best use of what is not sold. And actually, I'm really pleased that last year they really developed a firm working relationship with, in the Georgetown area, Assistance League will come in and take what they can use that was not sold. And then there's another level of people who want more basics, a group they work with. So they try to get it to the best use possible.
So before we met with the liquidator, we did give some items to charity. Once we met with the liquidator, we didn't. We stopped. But we've always given to charity. But Virginia touched on this. If you can get rid of some items, there can be a positive where it frees up space that you'll need to sort things through. So we had some empty things so that we could then organize, like, here's the stuff we're taking, here's the stuff we're not taking. And it made it so much easier because we were starting with maybe a couple of empty cabinets, and you could just keep working through that. If everything was full, it would have been a lot more complicated. And we, our children, we did give them, I think, one took China. We gave them some Christmas to one, some others to the other. My parents' piece, no, they had no interest. But there are some things like our Waterford, I don't know if we gave them anything or sold, but we took some. So we weren't sure, and then we said, well, let's just take some, we'll enjoy it. We can even use it as, we haven't yet, but as more day-to-day, and if we break it, we break it. We won't worry about that anymore. We'll get some pleasure out of it, too. So you can maybe get some pleasure.
Something like that. Okay.
Anything else? Any other questions? Thank you, Keith. Let's give it up for Mr. Steiner here. Appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing. We encourage you to visit our educational partners. They'll be behind their tables or in front of them, around them. Also, Virginia and I have kind of finalized our calendar for 2026. We're super excited. Invite a friend. Let's get the word out about these free seminars. Again, thank you for your time this morning, and be safe on the road going home. Thank y'all.